They told us the Great Erase wiped out everything. 1,000 years of human history, gone in a single digital flash. We were left with nothing but the ruins of a world we didn't understand. But they were wrong. My name is Elara, and underneath the ashes of Sector 4, I found the last remaining vault. Not of weapons, but of paper. Millions of them. Books. Real, physical books. The air down here felt different, heavy with secrets. Each spine held a truth that our leaders had tried to burn. I wasn't looking for a story. I was looking for survival. But one book called out to me. It wasn't covered in dust like the others. It was humming. I turned the cover, expecting ink. Instead, I got a memory, a projection of a life from the day the world supposedly ended. The projection was of a man. Older, terrified. He wasn't speaking to me, but to anyone who might survive the fallout. He said the Great Erase wasn't an asteroid. It wasn't a war. It was a lockdown. Everything the High Council taught us was a lie. We weren't the survivors of a broken world. We were the prisoners of a stolen one. The man showed a memory of our city before the ash. Beautiful, thriving. And then, the sky simply closed. A massive energy grid shutting us in, while the elites escaped above the clouds. He was about to show me how to break the grid, how to open the sky. But the memory began to destabilize. The pages were burning out. Then the book snapped shut, pitch black. The silence of the vault rushed back in, until I heard the footsteps. Heavy, metallic. I wasn't the only one looking for the truth. The Council's enforcers weren't supposed to know about this vault, but this wasn't a standard patrol drone. It was an exterminator, a relic from the old world built for one purpose: erasing anomalies. And right now, I was the anomaly. I ducked into the restricted archives, my heart hammering against my ribs. If its thermal optics locked onto my biometric signature, my entire sector on the surface would be purged. I had to mask my heat. The old world left behind more than just paper down here. The glowing flora fed on the library's decaying sub-level generators. They were conduits of pure kinetic energy. I just needed a spark. The chain reaction was deafening. It overloaded the drone's sensors, buying me exactly 4 seconds to reach the emergency blast door at the back of the vault. I forced the rusted door shut just as the corridor collapsed behind me. I thought I was heading back up to the ash. But the tunnel didn't lead to the surface. It led deeper, to a machine that hadn't moved in a millennium. The station was untouched by the ash, perfectly preserved in the dark. The train looked like a silver bullet, waiting 1,000 years for passengers that would never arrive. The doors hissed open. Inside, it was a time capsule of panic. Luggage, coats, old tech. It looked like everyone just dropped what they were holding and vanished into thin air. I made my way to the front cabin. There were no steering controls, no ignition. Just a sleek dashboard with a glowing rectangular indentation in the center, the exact size of the book. The second the leather locked into the metal, the entire carriage shuddered. The dead screens flickered to life, bypassing the city's dead grid and projecting a single, glowing red destination: the Spire. Behind me, I could hear the blast doors groaning. The exterminator was cutting through. But as the magnetic engines roared, I wasn't just escaping. I was heading to the source of the lockdown. For the first time in my life, I was moving faster than a dead sprint. The train was a ghost ship tearing through the dark. I sat with the glowing book, waiting to hit the ash of the surface. But the darkness didn't last. The tunnel walls fell away, and the train burst out into the open. I braced myself for the gray wasteland of Sector 4. But what I saw was impossible. The sky wasn't dead, it was shielded. A massive digital canopy projected a fake wasteland to anyone looking up from the lower sectors, hiding a pristine world the High Council kept all to themselves. And in the center of it all, piercing the artificial sky, was our destination. The Spire. It wasn't just a tower. It was the atmospheric engine keeping our people trapped in the dark. I thought I had outrun them. But the Spire wasn't unguarded. The carriage violently shuddered, and the console flared blood red. Proximity alarms started screaming. It wasn't a barricade. It was a swarm. Interceptor drones, dropping from the fake sky like metal birds of prey. The council wasn't trying to capture me anymore. They were trying to erase the train before it reached the inner perimeter. The reinforced glass shattered, the sudden wind pulling the breath from my lungs. One of the machines latched onto the side of the carriage, its plasma cutter slicing effortlessly through the hull. I didn't have a weapon that could even dent Enforcer armor, but the book was still locked into the dashboard, and the man in the memory said it was more than just a history record. It was the master key. I channeled the train's dying battery directly into the relic. The book didn't just translate the energy, it weaponized it. A localized electromagnetic pulse of pure old-world magic. The swarm was dead, but the EMP had fried the train's braking sequence too. The emergency overrides were completely locked out. We were hurtling toward the Spire's outer wall, and we weren't slowing down. The impact was a roar of tearing metal, followed by a suffocating silence. When I finally opened my eyes, the world was buried in gray dust and the sharp smell of ozone. The train was gone, but the book was still glowing in the rubble. The train hadn't just hit the perimeter wall, it had completely shattered it. The unbreakable titanium gate was ripped wide open, exposing the heart of the Spire. I stepped through the jagged metal, expecting an army of enforcers waiting for me. Instead, I found a ghost town. But it wasn't dead like the lower sectors. It was alive. There were no weapons, no guard towers, just pristine glass structures choked by vines. The High Council hadn't just locked us out to save themselves. They had lost control of their own paradise centuries ago. The book in my hands grew uncomfortably warm. It pulsed twice, casting a beam of golden light into the fog. And then, a voice echoed through the empty courtyard. It wasn't a guard. It was the man from the memory. His voice didn't boom with authority. It was quiet, echoing with deep, exhausted regret. If you are hearing this message, the perimeter has failed, or you have broken it. I am Dr. Eris, the architect of the Spire. We didn't trap humanity in the lower sectors to oppress them, the hologram continued, his voice trembling slightly. We trapped them to hide them. The Great Erase was a quarantine. The world above wasn't dead. It was infected. The High Council built the Spire to cast the energy shield, plunging our sectors into darkness to keep the creatures from sensing the life below. The Spire wasn't a prison guard. It was a lock. And by bringing the master key here, I had just turned it. I slowly turned to look back at the hole the train had torn through the titanium wall. The glowing fog outside wasn't empty anymore. The ground violently shook. The architect's voice distorted into a deafening automated blare.
Warning. Biosphere breach detected. Protocol 0 initiated. Commencing total sector purge.
Protocol 0 wasn't just an alarm. It was an extermination sequence. Massive titanium bulkheads began crashing down from the ceiling, sealing the inner sanctum to burn whatever was trapped inside, including me. But the creatures from the fog were faster. Before the main gate could fully seal, thick, pulsing biological tentacles covered in jagged bone armor forced their way under the crushing metal. I couldn't fight them. I couldn't go back the way I came. I ran deeper into the Spire's core, the heavy thud of the creatures shattering the blast doors right behind me. The book was my only guide. Its golden light shifted to a frantic flashing crimson, projecting a 3D schematic of the Spire. It highlighted a single narrow maintenance shaft plunging straight down into the geothermal vents. It was a blind drop into the abyss. But with the swarm tearing through the walls behind me, a sheer drop was the only choice I had left. I took a breath, held the book tight, and jumped. The fall should have killed me. But as the ground rushed up, the book didn't just glow, it erupted. A sphere of hard golden light encased me, hitting the floor with a heavy magnetic thud instead of a crash. The golden shield faded, and I finally saw the truth of the Spire. It wasn't powered by plasma or nuclear reactors. The center of the quarantine grid was driven by a colossal, ancient, beating heart of pure biomachinery. At the base of the machine was an altar, a control terminal untouched by the decay of the surface. The architect's hologram flickered to life one last time, pointing directly at the console. "The quarantine has failed," the architect whispered through the static. "The surface is lost to the rot. But the skies above the grid, the orbital stations, they are still clean. Open the sky. Give your people a chance to look up."